This is about Dungeons and Dragons and levels. When I was, I don't know, it was 12, 13, 14, when we first started playing actual Dungeons and Dragons as opposed to the jury-rigged Dungeons and Dragons that we played when we were in elementary school, we would make characters at whatever level we felt like. And I'm not sure how this started. It might have just been that when we got to high school, there was a teacher that was running a campaign, and it was an ongoing campaign with older kids that already had their characters at a certain level. So he told us to make them at that level, I guess, because I don't remember ever starting at first level in those campaigns. And throughout most of my Dungeons and Dragons in high school, I don't remember making pretty much any first level characters. Maybe with if I made like new friends and there was another game group that had been doing something else and they invited us to a new campaign, or myself alone with a bunch of other people, then maybe I made a first level character. I think I made a lot of first level characters that I never played. It's sort of a thing you do in Dungeons and Dragons where you make a bunch of characters just to see how they look. But often then they would also be other levels as well, or I would level them up. And I don't remember making that many first level characters to play. And I think it probably did stem from that original high school campaign. But basically, whenever me and my regular group of friends got together, we would just decide what level we wanted to play amongst ourselves, including the Dungeon Master. And then we would negotiate what type of equipment we'd already have, or how much equipment in gold we'd already have, and how many, magical items we'd already have. That was rare that we'd already have magical items, even if we were 10th level, just because that could, if you're just picking stuff as opposed to randomly getting it through treasure, it's a different power level. I don't think that's what we were considering, but we knew that having magical items that you could just get yourself made things a little bit wonky. And I didn't realize until maybe going to conventions in the 90s or watching Dungeons and Dragons videos on YouTube in 2007 or even earlier, reading on forums in the early 2000s, late 90s, that wasn't the usual experience. That normally people started at first level and then worked their characters up and then, abandoned the characters or campaign at some point from level 5 to level 12, maybe some continuing further on and, having this epic journey and ending their stories. That was incredibly rare. But I have yet to encounter another gaming group in which you come together and you make characters at level 10, or you make characters at level 15, and this is what you normally do. So there's some online discussion that people have about, the character design at level 1, or that the character or character design at level 15 or level 20, where it becomes harder to run a campaign. And I don't know that many people have really experienced that high level gaming. And maybe it's just a perception that it's harder to run, because we never found it hard to run a level 15 or level 20. But I mean, granted, we were doing this in 2nd edition, but 5th edition doesn't seem that much different to me. There weren't that many high level things to fight in Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition. Maybe 3rd edition had more, than maybe it was more epic level stuff going on in 3rd edition that I don't know about, but 2nd edition wasn't much more than 5th edition. 5th edition is just kind of a more user-friendly version of 2nd edition, as far as I can tell. So the discussion that people have about about leveling up in Dungeons & Dragons and making your character and figuring out the optimal ways to make a character, or the non-optimal ways to make a more interactive character and that kind of stuff. I always am somewhat baffled by, because you don't have to start at level 1. This is a video game thing, and I don't even know why you got to do it in video games. I mean, maybe I understand in MMOs that are PvP, I guess. It makes sense that everyone has to start at level 1 and level their way up, but I don't understand why in just a regular video game you can't just decide, drop me in this part of the story, I want to see what this is like. I don't know why you got to go through the whole thing, because it's a game and it's your game that you bought, so I don't know why you have to be consigned to doing things the way the game designer intended. I could see that if they were just lending you the game, maybe. Much in the way that, a Dungeon Master would make a campaign and you play it inside of the constraints that Dungeon Master has set up, so they decide on what level the campaign is. And this is the thing, is like, so you have these pre-written Dungeons & Dragons campaigns that are from a certain level to a certain level. And nowadays they often start at level 1, and there are these big books that go from level 1 to 10. That's the most common. But there are ones that go from level 5 to 10. There's ones that go from level 5 to 15. There's some that go from level 10 to 20. And so you could start there. Like, and it seems to me that there are people that are like, oh, I gotta level our characters up before we can start playing this campaign. I'm like, you could just make characters at that level, or just not, go through the motions of playing these characters and just level them up from level 2 to level 10 as if you had done that. So sometimes when I see these online discussions about these things, I'm a little bit baffled that no one has figured this part out, that it's your game and no one is forcing you to start at level 1 and work all your way up. Because there's a lot of people out there who talk in different forums or in the comments on YouTube videos or on Reddit or whatever, that they were playing a campaign and it died out, and either it died out within a few sessions or it died out after 6 months, and they never got to X level, whether that's level 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or whatever, and they wanted to see that kind of content, because that's another video game thing, is that everyone was playing to the end game content. And it's still my contention that the end game content should just be immediately available if one chooses to do that. And maybe someone watching this thinks that's heresy. How could you possibly? They didn't earn it. It's like, I don't understand why you have to earn something in a video game. It's not real life. If you bought something and you want to do something with it, then you can do whatever you want with it. For instance, when I play World of Warcraft, I don't really care about leveling up my character, except in in that I need to level up to a certain point to get to certain areas to craft, and then I just want to craft things and sell them on the auction house. That's really all I care about in World of Warcraft, right? So that's the content I care about. I went to some raids back when World of Warcraft started in 2003, 4, whatever, and maybe they were the level 20 or level 30 level raids, and they weren't the end game content raids, but scaling them up, and I've seen them online, they're not much more interesting to me. So this is what I don't understand, is people having to do something as if it's a rule, as if not only is it a rule, but they have to obey the rules. You have a thing that you bought, that you own, and you've decided that you have to obey the book as opposed to use the book to enhance your experience. So if you're having issues with, you want to try out certain levels, or you want to see different types of content, then the best way is to, not use the pre-generated, adventures, because they usually are in a linear pattern, and you start at level 5 and work your way to level 15 to get to the end thing. But you can take those ideas and just put them into your own thing, change the names, change the the locations, change enough about it that you want, or just take it from a whole bunch of different sources. And that's the better idea, is having a bunch of these adventures. Sort of, you understand there's this and this thing and this and that thing, and when your characters choose to go in a certain direction, you can take something and add it in as a module, right? And that's what the original adventures were called back in the 80s and 90s. They were called modules. Probably in the 70s and 60s too. I don't know. But it's because, you can experience the game in the way that you want to experience. So you don't have to obey what the book says. The book obeys you because you're the master of it. There's actually a video from Matt Colville where he talks about the early players of Dungeons and Dragons and how there was some woman in California who, I think it was the Deck of Many Things, made her level up to like level 7, and at that point, so early in the game, no one in I guess the world, but in this particular point in America, was that high of a level. So she was being invited, her wizard was being invited to all these games because she was more powerful than everybody else and could get them through these dungeons. And none of them, I guess, Gary Gygax was still around writing about what you're allowed and not allowed to do, and it's weird that he was doing that he was telling people how you're allowed to play this game and how you're not allowed to play this game. And I guess that kind of, the flavor of that seeped through the ages, and everyone, after playing video games, think you have to start at level 1 and you work your way up. You've got to work your way to the end game content. And I'm telling you, you don't have to do that. You can all come together as friends and decide what level you're going to play, how wealthy your characters are vis-a-vis gold items and magical items, artifacts, that kind of stuff. You could decide that you're already the kings or controllers of an area, right? I mean, you already see this with like Spelljammer. You already start, like an adventure for Spelljammer, you can already start with a ship, right? You're already the captains of your own destiny. So again, I just wanted to make this video in case people weren't aware that this is a thing that you could do, and I think that people should stop playing at level 1. Just if you've never just started at a random level, just for the next year, don't play any level 1 games. Only play level 5 games, or only play level 10 games, or only play any game that isn't level 1. And you might find that it could open up the possibilities of what you think Dungeons and Dragons is. At the very least, there'll be people that play more like me and my friends. So, thanks a lot. Have a good day.